She's the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York. Follow her voice, her straight talk is nice. She's a pushy broad from the Bronx, oh yeah. Don't be surprised if you wanna listen twice. Make decisions, find the right choice. Know yourself better, find your own voice. It's okay if you need help today, cause everybody needs a little push. From the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York.
Hey there, it's Ellen Stewart, Pushy Broad from the Bronx. Welcome to my show, Women Who Push for More. What makes a pushy broad? I'll tell you. A pushy broad is a powerful, unafraid, self-aware, hardworking, young at heart, absolutely fabulous female. That's not only a backronym for the word pushy, but that describes all of the women that have been on my show every week for almost 2 months. They do not back down. They are truly women who push for more, whether they are women who are leaders in their career or their relationships or their enterprising attitudes or their risks they take, above all else, to succeed. This particular show highlights 2 women that are just like you and I. I want you to meet them both because they have something particular to say and will resonate with us, especially now during this difficult time that we're all experiencing, when the world seems to be on its head, kind of topsy-turvy. We need women who push for more, even in the smallest ways, to emerge and to set examples for other women. So I want you to meet Jessica Ruiz, a single woman living at home with family who, as a Latina, tells us that we should always persevere, that we can always get what we want, that we should never settle for less than what we're worth. A master's degree therapist and a private practice clinician, she tells us every single day not to be afraid and to move forward. And then I want you to meet Hannah VanDuinen, a young housewife with 2 small children and a wonderful husband who started to nurture her creative side, much like her parents, and developed the VanDuinen Studio. She's going to tell us about how to utilize your creative side and give us the message that no matter how old you are or young you are, you never give up. These are 2 truly marvelous women who certainly push for more. So join me in listening to a conversation with Jessica Ruiz and Hannah VanDuinen. Enjoy. Welcome, Transformation Talk Radio listeners. My name is Ellen Stewart, and I am the Pushy Broad from the Bronx. Welcome to my show, Women Who Push for More. I have a very special guest with me today. She is a social worker and a therapist. She is in the mental health field for quite some time in private practice. She is also a bilingual woman who is very proud of who she is and also proud to be single. And she is proud of her personal and professional goals. And she certainly identifies as a woman who pushes for more. Transformation Talk Radio listeners, I would like to introduce to you Jessica Ruiz. Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm all excited.
I'm so glad that you're excited. Can you tell me, I sent out an email to everybody, and I sent it to a large variety of women, and I asked them who wanted to participate on my show and interview with me because you were attracted to being a pushy broad and a woman who pushed for more. Can you tell me what made you answer that email?
The reason why I answered the email, well, one, I know you're like in my hometown, Bronx. So that was one of the reasons. I was like, oh my God, someone from the Bronx, someone that's been in the Bronx. That was one. Two, to also like empower women. Doesn't have to be single women, but women in general. And I'm also, I'm Peruvian American. So I want to let the Latinos know, Latinas, everyone know, you know, that we could go further, like we could get our master's degree just because we've been in the Bronx, or if, you know, because they could be in another city. You could still do that. You could accomplish your dreams.
You're right. So it was kind of your personal message. But first of all, let's go back a little bit. Where in the Bronx did you live? That's what I want to know right away.
Okay, I've lived in 167 in the Concourse, 196 in the Concourse, and 197 in Valentine.
Oh my God. Okay. So I'm a Marshall Parkway gal, but I went to school at Bronx Community College, which was on the concourse at 183. So I'm right there with you on the concourse. But now you're no longer in the Bronx, correct? Where are you now?
Right now, I live in Kissimmee, Florida.
So that's why I see Dumbo and Mickey Mouse behind you because you're in the home of Disney World, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
And
which
I
is
love Mickey Mouse.
oh, you do. And it's having a
Yeah,
tough time right now, I know. It's having a tough
yes.
time, Disney World. I understand. So, tell me a little bit about your upbringing. You said you are Peruvian American. Are you first generation? Tell me about your background.
Okay, well, my parents, they came, like, first it was my grandfather who immigrated to New York. And then from there, my mom came when she was 15. She met my dad in Peru. So they got married, and then he came when he was like 18 and my mom was 23.
Wow, so that
That's
was
how,
quite some time ago.
yes. Yeah, my mom has like 50 years or more in the US.
And you were born and your first place of living was in the Bronx?
Yes, I was born and raised in the Bronx. So yeah. And then I lived in Ohio for 4 years.
And
And then
then
I
from
have
there,
5 years in Kissimmee.
ah,
I moved to Kissimmee, yes. But I did go to grad school in North Miami. But at that time, I wasn't ready to move to Florida. I was like, no, I'm going back to New York again.
so as a young girl in high school and then in college, did you know what you wanted to do?
Well, that's also another story. At first, I wanted to be a pediatrician. So I started out in college as pre-med. But then I realized in my sophomore year, biology, chemistry, that wasn't for me. So then I was working also a work study program, which was like a shelter for women and children. So the after school teacher, she was studying social work. So I was like, all right, let me take an intro to social work class. And I loved it. And then I said, okay, I'm going to go for my master's in social work. So my major for college was, and I went to Fordham University in the Bronx for college. So I changed my major to sociology in my bachelor's. And then I went to my master's in Barry University, which was in North Miami, for social work. And I did my social work degree in a year and a half.
What made you decide you wanted to be a social worker?
Oh, well, the main thing is I love helping people. So, and I have since 2005, I've been a social worker. So I did like my internship before that, which was actually I had three internships. One was like helping welfare to work program. So that was 6 months. So I had to get another internship because the internships is a year. So then I worked at a nursing home. And then my second year, I worked at preventive services, which was for mothers and children. Social work, I love social work. Even though the years have passed by, I know some people have changed their profession, and you do it because you have that passion, you know, to help people, to be there for them, to give them resources.
So you went out and you got a job working with various places. How long have you been in private practice?
5 years.
What made you decide to go into private practice?
Actually, I work at a private practice. So, yes, I work at a private practice. So I've been doing that, like I said, for 5 years, different private practices. Um, I just wanted to do more of my clinical. And I love the therapy part too, like just that one-on-one. I help children, families, couples, men, women.
So when you say you work at a private practice, you work for other private practice clinicians?
Yes.
What do you do exactly?
What I do is like, well, it could be like I could work with couples, I could work with children, It could be that they have bipolar, they could have depression, anxiety. And I also work with children, couples, families. It could be men, women.
So you do one-on-one counseling.
Yes.
I see. So having a private practice in this country means soliciting your own clients, which is something that I do when I do my recovery coaching. So what you're essentially saying is you're working for other private practice clinicians and you're working with their clients. Would that be what you're doing?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So you work with adolescents as well, which is a really big thing because not everybody works with adolescents. And you're working in behavioral health. Are you working at all in the addiction field? Do you handle people with substance abuse problems?
Yes. I either whether it be alcohol, pills, drugs. So yes, I have.
Is there any particular age group that you enjoy working with the most?
Yeah, that's a hard. I mean, I do love the kids, but I do love also the adults, and well, the teenagers too. So I guess that's a hard question because I love working with people. So
You love working with all of them. And of course, you are bilingual Spanish, so that opens a lot of doors. Yes.
yes.
So you tell me that you really wanted to get across some messages today to help other women. Talk to me a little bit about what your philosophy is in terms of empowerment and reaching your goals. Give us an idea of who Jessica is.
Okay. Well, for me, I guess for me, like also being Latina, bilingual. So that's why I also want to help the Latino community. But, and I'll always remember where I come from. I'm still humble. So no matter what, even, once I reach big and everything, I'll still remember where I come from, that I'm Peruvian American, my culture, where I come from, my roots, mis raíces, and we celebrate like in October coming up for the Peruvian, es el mes morado, so the purple month. So we celebrate El Señor de los Milagros, which is our Lord of Miracles. So I'm Catholic too. So that's like a Peruvian tradition. They have like a procession, a mass. Now it's going to be different because of the whole thing with the corona. But yeah, hopefully they'll do it. I know in Peru they'll do it virtually. So,
So, what does that holiday represent to you, and what kind of a message do you want to impart?
that holiday is, well, it's like for those that with faith that believe. I know, like for my mom especially, because my mom's been through cancer. She's been, thank God, in remission for more than 20 years. So she believed, and thank God, the miracle. She had that miracle where she was in remission. And, it's basically, the story is like in the 1800s. I'm not sure if it was 18 something. There was an earthquake. The only
In
thing that was
Peru?
left,
In
this is
Peru?
in Peru. This is
Okay.
in Peru, yes. So the only thing that was left was the mural of the Lord of Miracles, Señor de los Milagros. That was the only thing that was left after the earthquake. So that's the story um, behind that. And that's the tradition for us.
And one more time, the name of that holiday, because it was hard to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Our Lord of Miracles, Señor de los Milagros.
So that, and when does that, is that the whole month of October or just one
That's,
particular day?
well, we call it the whole month of October, the purple month, and mes morado. So yeah, there's specific days. Like even here in Florida, there's like a church that does celebrate it. But again, probably that'll change because of the corona. So in Peru, they have different dates depending on where you live at that they celebrate it. So I say it's the whole month.
That's wonderful. No, I would love to have a whole month of miracles. That sounds great. And it certainly sounds like something we can all use right now. Yes?
Yes, definitely.
Hmm. So, moving on with your own personal identity, you had mentioned to me that you identify with a certain niche in terms of your clients and the women around you. Tell me a little about what you mean.
Okay. So I identify with single women because I'm also single. So just helping single women, empowering them to reach their goals, their personal and professional goals with confidence. So that's why, I want to help more, especially being bilingual. So I speak Spanish too. So like that's why I was saying also the interest in the Latino community. So that's where, I've always, like I said, I love to help people. I have that passion. So, and the reason, like the name of it, my business is Strength, Patience, Trust. And the reason I picked that name was, well, strength. Sometimes it's hard for us women to realize how strong we are. So, and patience, well, that was personally me because I could be impatient. So sometimes I'm like, things happen. I'm like, okay, God, you're testing me, because I'm impatient. And trust, well, it's hard for us sometimes to trust people because of things that we went through. So that's why I picked that name, Strength, Patience, Trust, for my online business.
That's really amazing. So let's talk a little bit more about that. When in your life do you feel that you have overcome some things, or tell us a little bit about you as a person and how you have the strength you need to have, and talk to me a little bit more about how you guide women into finding their own personal strength.
So for me personally, when I was 9, my great grandmother, she had cancer. So she died when I was 10. Then at the same time, my mom had cancer. Like I said, thank God she's in remission now. So like we have like the powerful women in our family, their strength, how they overcome obstacles. So that's where, like my mom, she's my best friend, she's my role model, she's my hero. So she has helped me, especially also with my faith, because she's very faithful. She never loses hope, um, especially with things that are going on right now with the whole corona, people being anxious. So yeah, so but she's that strong. So she's like now the matriarch, because before it was my great grandmother, so that was the matriarch of the family.
That's really wonderful. You know, you said something that seems to be the current theme. I'm interviewing so many women, and every single one of them talks about strong women in their life, and every single one of them praises their mother. And I praise my own mother, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but she lived until almost 96 years old, and she was an amazingly strong woman. And it's wonderful when young girls have strong women role models to push them forward, so to speak. So, how do you think your mom helped push you forward in life? How was that a thing?
She's always pushed me forward as just being that role model, teaching me, being there for me, being supportive. Like I said, I could come to her, like we're that connected. Like she'll know, even though I'm like, oh, I'm okay. She's like, no, something's wrong. And the same thing, I'm with her. Like if she says, oh, no, I'm okay. I'm like, I know something's going on. So, yeah, that's how we are connected in that way.
That's marvelous. I understand you. Women also, I think, have a special intuitive sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
We kind of know we have a connection, and you can, read somebody that and is very, very close to you. And you mentioned mom lives with you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're roommates. You're there all the time. You know each other's habits and behavioral patterns and things like that. So, give us some words of wisdom for some of the women out there when it comes to strength. Talk about strength and how to conjure up that strength.
Okay. So even with me, like I said, I'm single. So for me, like what I did was like goals. Like I picked like 4 goals. And I have like a planner, like a yearly planner. So my 4 goals was to grow in my faith. That was one, to lose weight, which I'm still trying to do that. Like I'm doing planks. Um, so my third goal was to like finally do my business, to move up in my career. And well, my fourth one, yeah, eventually to find someone. So, and basically what I did with those goals is little things, like I said, for losing weight, doing planks, going back to the gym. So that's one thing for that. Like for my with my faith, like I read the daily app that they have for your scriptures. So that's one little thing to reach my bigger goal. For what is it? Oh well, meeting someone. Well, that one I'm still working on that one. So yeah.
Well, that may come as you're doing all the other things, right? You're open to
Yes,
that.
exactly.
There you go. God will lead you to the next thing. So these are good places to start. In a faith-based situation, I think provides everybody with strength, especially in today's world. I think that people should absolutely turn to spirituality. It may be faith, it may be religion, it may just be the universe or a general
Exactly.
spirituality, but we do have to look beyond to calm ourselves down, to give ourselves inner strength and fortitude, and realize that humanity does have a spirituality component, however you choose. And for you,
Exactly.
certainly it's your faith, and that's wonderful. For me, it's my faith as well, and a general belief in spirituality. And I think that is something that we can turn to right away. So I believe you, and I admire what you're doing. And you've also said some very important things. You've said that we should have goals. We should have things that
Yes.
we're working on. And I also believe that too. And I believe that the goal should be ever moving so that it's constantly being developed. Correct? If you
Yes,
decide you
correct.
want to lose weight, like I want to lose the 15 pounds I gained during COVID-19, the quarantine 15, okay? Then I know that I have to make this a constant and ever going kind of thing, right? I can't just say, okay, I'll be done there. I have to maintain my weight. I have to do exercises around it. I have to eat right. I have to get my body in shape. It's not just cut and dry. So goals are constantly moving and progressing, correct?
Yes, correct.
So now tell me a little bit about patience because you said you could tend to have a little bit of a temper. So how do you relax and calm down? How do you do that?
Well, I journal. That's something that helps me. I've been doing that since I was in the fourth grade. So any type of that's where I'm able to express myself more is by writing. So I could, if I'm having a bad day, okay, I write it there in my journal. The same thing if I'm having a good day. So the journal is not only for bad things, it's also when you're having a good day, when you're like, okay, today was a great day, this happened, and you're all excited to like write in your journal. Again, some people might do it by art, some people poems. They have that creative side. So for me, it's journaling.
Why do you
Um,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I also like just relaxing, like, okay, or listening to music. I love music. So that's also music, dancing. That's my other way of relaxing and reading. I love to read books too.
What type of music do you listen to?
Oh, I love, I can listen to R&B, hip hop, Spanish music, salsa, merengue, bachata. Also like the romantic music or the oldies. Yeah. So it's hard to pick a favorite because I love music.
Because you
I
love
love
them all.
freestyle. Yes.
So when you say oldies, what's oldies for you?
Oldies could be like, and I know in New York they have like, well, they have like Light FM. That's also another radio station that I have like on my phone because we don't have that here in Florida. But all these could be like in the 50s, like those classical ones. I don't know. It's just, yeah, those,
Well,
because again, that was music back then.
yes. As far as I'm concerned, they weren't oldies for me. I'm more of a 60s and a 70s gal, but I love Latin music. My mother was a ballroom dancer. I mean, she used to go to places and do ballroom dancing and just have fun, not professionally or anything, but just have fun. But in addition to that, she did some Latin dancing. You know, she did some salsa, she did some merengue and things like that. And I have done that as well. So I love Latin music. I love Latin dancing. In fact, I wanted, I was just about to take some Latin dancing lessons when COVID hit. I was like, okay, I'm really going to do this. I do not have two left feet. I'm good at this. Okay. I have rhythm and I really wanted to go do it. And then of course, COVID stopped that. So I'm hoping that I can return to that too, because I absolutely love that. So these are good things that you're telling people. First of all, journaling is marvelous because it gets it out, right? It gets it out of your body and out of your brain onto a piece of paper, which we have to
Yes.
do. It's the cathartic experience of releasing something and also giving you the idea that you can take a look at it and measure your growth as time goes on and really get a better look at your subconscious as it becomes conscious and on the page. So I'm a very big believer in journaling. And also, I'm a very big believer in healthy distraction and de-escalating your mood, and one of the best way to do that is certainly to listen to music. So what happens, what do you tell the women that are out there when you're trying to work with them on their anger and their temper? Give us some of the things you might tell somebody as you're talking to them in as being a therapist.
Well, we talk about like where does it come from? Like, did they see their parents? Like, how would they argue? Like, or was it through them, friends? Like, that's where we start, and also building coping skills for them. Like, when who triggers them to get angry, or what triggers them to get angry, and then what would work for them, what coping skills, like, okay, talking to someone, would journaling work for them? um, for some people it could be like even using a stress ball, or if they're anxious. So it just depends, and also telling them, okay, try these things, and see if it works for you. If it doesn't, then in next session we'll talk about some other coping skills.
Do you find that, because I know that you have a particular propensity to work in the Latina community, do you find that Latina women come to you with problems that are maybe more significant that you would like to address?
With women, it could be either, there's so many things, either they've been through rape or domestic violence, or like, and it could be even with men too, like where, which with men, it's kind of like, I don't know, for them it's more difficult. Like, I could tell, like, maybe out of all the people that I've worked with, maybe I might have like 5 men. So there's also that myth about mental health, about going to a therapist or psychologist or getting help. They're like, oh no, it's not like, okay, you go to your doctor because it's something physical. So for them, it's like, oh, why would I go to a therapist or something like that? So there's also that myth.
You're right. I really think so. And I think women are more introspective. I think women are more open to learning about themselves and self-developing. And I think men find it a sign of weakness, and they also don't feel that it has any value or self-worth. So I think, I'm not saying all men. I have a large complement of men, and I'm very, very glad about it. In fact, right now in my particular practice, my private practice, I happen to have more men than women at this moment in time, but these things change. They all change. And I am hoping that men in general understand that there's a great benefit to coaching and to counseling. Is there something in particular that you want to say to the Latina community now that you have the stage? Something in particular? And if you want to say it in Spanish, then do me a favor and say it in Spanish and then in English for those so we can translate it.
Okay. Bueno, bueno, este es el mes de la herencia latina, since this is the month of, this is like the Hispanic Heritage Month. So nunca olvides tus raíces. Don't ever forget like where you come from, your roots. And sigue adelante con tus metas. So always continue with your goals. Y bueno, siempre tienes que tener esa esperanza. Always have that hope. Never lose hope. Y bueno, como latinos podemos seguir adelante. Vamos a apoyarnos, ser esa comunidad unida. So always have that support with each other for us to be united as a Hispanic community.
That's marvelous. Really, really marvelous. So tell us about where you want to go in your business here. It's going to be called Strength, Patience, Trust. Is that correct?
Yes.
So tell me what your hopes and dreams are about around this. What do you see yourself doing?
Well, first, I also like the coaching part one-on-one. Like, I love that. So that I want to do. I also eventually want to write books, definitely geared to single women, just telling them how I am as a single woman, what I've been through. Because again, being single, you go through, well, depending, every story is different. Dating apps, ghosting, the emotionally unavailable men, all of those things. And if that's something that they want, to never lose hope. Or if they're okay with being single, because there's nothing wrong with being single, that's okay too. So yeah, so those are my goals.
All right. Well, let's talk about that a little bit more because I know that my listeners want to talk about relationships all the time. So let's talk about this single girl to single girl. Okay. Because I'm a single girl too. So let's get into this for a little bit. What's the longest relationship you've been in?
Mine's 3 years.
3 years. Okay. So I've been married
3
twice
years.
and that went sour for me for sure. I mean, they were fine and they were nice guys, but marriage just wasn't for me. What's your goal here? Do you want to be in a long-term relationship? Tell me about that. You eventually want to get married?
Yes, I do. Like, I want to be, a long-term relationship. Again, I'm not gonna go like, okay, yeah, I just met you and I'm gonna get married. But no, we gotta take our time, get to know each other. But yes, I do want to get married, have kids, have our own place. I mean, yes, I know there's gonna be ups and downs. I mean, I'm not saying, oh, I want someone perfect and I have my checklist and, you know, but yeah, there are like deal breakers. Like, yes, I want to have kids. So, he should also want to have kids too. That's my biggest like deal breaker. So,
Right, I understand. Do me a favor, Jessica, just move a little closer to the phone so I can hear you a
oh,
little bit
okay.
because I'm losing you a little. Okay, so yes, 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 yes. Good. Okay, much better. So let's talk about being single. What do you like about being single?
Oh, well, I guess the freedom. Like, okay, you don't have to think, oh yeah, this weekend, okay, I gotta spend, with my boyfriend, or like when I was with someone, like when I had my boyfriend, I was like, okay, spending time with him, spending time with my mom's, you know, everything like I had to do with my business, work. So yeah, I guess it's that part of being single, like doing things that I want to do. So yeah, that's what I love about being single.
Okay, so being single means that you don't have to answer to anybody and you have a lot of personal freedom, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when you are in a relationship, do you think that it means that you have to answer to somebody? Tell me about that. How do you balance that?
Okay. Not that I have to answer to him, but it's like we're working together. And it's also like managing, okay, like, okay, like I know I need to have time for him, time for myself, time for my mom. So yeah, all time for my business, my career. So yeah, I'm like, okay, I could do this. And because that's also hard sometimes. It's like, okay, how do I do everything? Like, you know? So yeah, that's the one thing that I'm like, all right, I could do this, I got this. And yeah, and just trying to make time because, they need time too. It's not like you're gonna just leave them there and not, spend time with them. Um, but yeah, for me, it's like we work together as a team.
You're absolutely right. It's all about partnership. And I think in many ways, women sometimes have it really hard because not only do we make time for our partners, but we make time for our careers, just like men do, or just like your partner does. But you also have your immediate family. You're close with your mom, and you're close with your uncle too, who's with you as well. Did you say?
Yes. Yes,
And
he's like a second dad. Yeah, sorry.
okay, so there you go. He's like a second dad. So you have like a mom and dad to look out for, and I know you're very close with your family. And I know you want to do things and juggle things. And sometimes when people have relationships, they tend to lose themselves in that relationship. The relationships becomes somewhat codependent. And when that happens, we lose our own personal identities. Right? Like you said, it's hard
Yes.
sometimes. It's hard. So we have to maintain our own identities and have a partnership. I'm always a firm believer that relationships are based on compromise and not sacrifice, right? You can't
Yes,
sacrifice
that's true.
yourself.
Hmm.
You can't
And
sacrifice
also,
yourself for another person. Go ahead.
oh, sorry. And also communication and having trust. because that's also important. Like if something's bothering you, talk to them, let them know, look. And it's not like, oh, it's you. No, it's this is what you did that made me feel this way. So they won't think, okay, yeah, you're blaming everything on them or something like that. You know, but yeah, communication is very important and having that trust. And yeah, spending time with them. I'm also a romantic person, so I like that stuff too. So I'm like the romantic person, like, that's me. Um, so yeah, so things like that. Like I believe in love again. Love conquers all. So that's yeah.
That's wonderful. I love that. And I think if you stay in that frame of mind, that you cannot help but attract love to you. I think that kind of positive energy attracts positive energy. And also, we have to be ready for that in our lives. Yes?
Yes, that is true.
So let's talk a minute about that trust. It's part of your business strength, patience, trust. Tell me what trust actually means to you, and what you impart on your clients about trust.
Okay. So trust, like, that starts from like, okay, you just meet the person, like let's say for a client, if we're talking about that. So sometimes it's hard for them, because again, they're nervous or they don't know, like, will I get along with my therapist, or what would they think of me? Are they going to judge me? So that's a hard thing too. In the first session is like, okay, I had to tell them what's going on or answer questions, the intake, and all of those things. So you build that rapport with them, you build that trust, you build that relationship with them. Um, and even if like, even letting them know, like, look, even if we don't work out, you could let me know and we'll get you someone else, because that's the main part. We want the therapy to work. We want the sessions to work. So don't think, oh, you're going to hurt my feelings by telling me that. No. But it's hard, especially like if they're starting again to another therapist. They got used to one and they have to start from the beginning. But I always recommend, no, continue, because that's always something that will benefit you.
Well, there's always something to be said for the fact that you have to establish a rapport with the person you're working with, whether it's a coach or a therapist. You have to feel comfortable enough, but in some ways, not too comfortable. The therapist or the
Yes.
coach has to challenge you in the appropriate ways. And trust really transcends. It's not only that, but I think it's the trust that we have in ourselves that's the most important thing. So the
Yes.
trust that we have in ourselves, in being totally honest with ourselves so that we can be honest with another human being,
Yes.
right?
And it's
That's where
about being,
trust.
yes, it's being about being genuine, authentic, being real. Like, okay, this is what you've been through, and I could, like in a coaching, you could, you ask them, is it okay for me to, say my, tell like how I identify or things like that, because you also got to get the permission. You don't want to, there's also boundaries and things like that. So, and that's also a little bit the difference between like coaching and therapy. Um, so with coaching, we don't do diagnosis, we don't do those things, or with coaching, yeah, you work together, you have a plan, to find a solution to the problem. So more solution focused.
You're right. I mean, the whole basis of my practice is short term goal focused solutions. And yes, I think you're absolutely right about that. And trust is such a big topic. Especially, like you said, in relationships. If I'm going to choose my next partner, or you're going to choose your next partner, we have to have a level of trust. And certainly that person has to be worthy of that trust, correct?
Yes, definitely.
All right. So, what do you like about being single? In addition to
Oh,
your freedom, what else about it? I mean, I can rattle off 10 things. I mean, what's on the top of your head? Why is single so great?
being single, it's, for me, it's nice and beautiful to be single, because it's like, okay, yeah, you could do your own thing, like you have your own freedom, you have more time for yourself, and it's also, you get to learn more about yourself. Like, okay, you have more time to do more of your own goals. And like you were saying, sometimes when you're in a relationship, you do lose yourself. And like that happened to me in one of my relationships, and I promised myself that's not going to happen to me again, because I learned from that, and that's the reason why like I broke up with one of my boyfriends, because yeah, I lost myself. So that's what we don't want to happen in a relationship. So yeah,
So tell me, Jessica, what have you learned about yourself?
that I'm a strong person. I'm humble. I'm also shy, but I'm an ambivert too. So like I could be shy, but like when it comes to dancing or singing, I could do that. But when it comes to like public speaking and things like that, I'll do it, but I'll still be nervous. Uh, so what else I've learned about myself? Like yes, how passionate I am. Like I'm a hard worker. I'm determined. I could be persistent. Um, yeah, I care about my family, because that's how I was raised. Like even I have family in Peru, and we still keep in touch, whether it be through phone or Facebook, or because that's how I was brought up.
Did you say you sing? Did you
I'm
sing?
sorry.
Do you sing?
Oh yeah, I love to sing and dance. And like I put like the radio, and I'm like, okay, I'm like singing and things like that. Like I in high school I was in choir. So yeah,
That's great. Do you sing in English or in Spanish?
both.
Both. Marvelous. Really marvelous. Fantastic. All right. So let's move forward a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about how you see yourself in the next couple of years, how you see yourself um, really putting together a message of development for the people out there, especially the Latina women's community. Talk a little bit about what you want them to know and to learn, and what you intend to do going forward in your practice.
Okay. So with that, uh like I was in, well, not that I was a guest, but I saw like there was a Latino summit for entrepreneurs. So that, like, I was like, oh, great, there's something for Latinos. Because that was something I've always been looking for, like, okay, either a Facebook group or something that has to do with that. Um, so I finally found that, and I have like that connection. So yeah, so hopefully through there, maybe also like be interviewed as a guest in a podcast of for Latinos. So those are my goals as far as trying to reach also the Latino community. For women, whether it be they're Latinos, they're not, like I said, it's never giving up on your dreams, reaching your goals, you know, always value yourself. Don't think, oh, you're less than someone, or you're not worth it, because you are. And sometimes we might think that, but no, just like, you know what, those negative thoughts, I'm going to put that away and keep on being positive. I know it's hard, especially with everything with the corona and everything. So that's my message, is don't lose hope.
You're right. I mean, that's really a very important thing, not losing hope. I mean, so many of us in isolation as well, in, our lockdown, and the fact that we may even have to go back into a lockdown situation, we become isolated and lonely. And there are many single women out there that don't have the opportunity to live with a mom or an uncle and are living by themselves, and may somehow feel that they're alone in the world. So what do you say to those women?
Find like a community. That's also what I want to build, like, it's a community for women, so that if they need something, like, they could just, okay, I'll go to the Facebook page, or just to have that community, whether it be also reaching out to people, even if it's by phone, or I know there's FaceTime. I know it's not the same as in person, because we're social beings and we like to be, with people going, but at least you're reaching out. And that, like, you're not alone. That's also the other message.
And now more than ever, we're able to do this. Like I'm able to see you on Zoom and talk to you and reach so many other people. So the world is definitely at our fingertips. There's no question. It is. So what else? What kind of parting words do you want to leave with us? What kind of general message do you want to say to people about being a woman who pushed for more? Well, first of all, let me ask you. I had asked you before we started if you could identify with my definition of pushy broad, and I told you that pushy broad is my acronym for powerful, unafraid, self-aware, hardworking, young at heart female. So do you identify as a pushy broad, Jessica?
Yes, I do. Like I said, even though I'm shy, but I try to get out of my comfort zone, because how am I going to reach people if I don't be interviewed on podcast or, things like that, public speaking. So, like I said, I'm an ambivert, like where I could be bold, but I'm getting out there. Like they say, like, okay, the phrase, there's someone that uses the phrase, do it scared. Yeah, even though you're scared or you're nervous, just do it. I mean, because if not, then you'll have that regret. What if I would have done this? What if this? So, yeah.
Yeah, the Nike brand came out with that check mark years and years and
Yes.
years ago, decades ago, and simply underneath it, that check mark came out, and underneath it were the words, just do it. That was the
Mhm.
original brand. And now that check mark just means I've done it, kind of, just go do it. And
Exactly.
I think that needs to propel you no matter what. I am comfortable doing these radio shows. I am comfortable putting myself on Zoom. But when you ask me to do an Instagram live or a Facebook live, I'm not comfortable with that. I am so not comfortable with that. And my team keeps telling me I have to do more of those, and I keep pushing them off, but they tell me that that's what I have to do. So that's what I will be doing. All of you guys out there, Pushy Broad from the Bronx is going to be much, much, much more visible between now and the new year and going forward. But it is taking that risk, going outside of your comfort zone, that makes a really big difference, correct?
Yes, definitely. And the same thing you were saying about the lives. Yeah, I still got to do that too, like Facebook Live. Yeah. Like I said, starting with the podcast. Eventually, I want to be a guest on summits and things like that. So I'm starting, So I'm like, okay, but I know I'm going to eventually have to do lives and all of those things and public speaking. But I'm like, all right, I'm starting little by little. And eventually, yes, I'm going to do that too.
Well, it's knowing that that you can propel yourself. You are a woman who pushes forward,
Yes,
correct?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So any last message here for our listeners, people that are out there, especially the Latino women out there, especially our women out there, give us a last message for them today.
So the message is that we can do this. You might think you're not able to, or don't have the resources, or I'm not the extrovert, or no. I mean, you could still do this. Yes, it takes courage. Yes, but it's doing it. Yeah, like things might not be perfect, but that's how it is. It's not going to be perfect. So yeah, and well, in Spanish, I'm gonna say que sí, podemos. We could do this. So yeah, and tenemos que seguir adelante. We gotta continue and keep on.
That's marvelous. It was so lovely to meet you, Jessica. I really appreciate you being here today. I hope you had a good time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Transformation Talk Radio listeners. My name is Ellen Stewart, and I am the Pushy Broad from the Bronx. Welcome to my show, Women Who Push for More. I get to interview exciting and amazing women who tell me their inspiring stories. And I have a wonderful gal today that's going to talk to us from her creative side, among other things. Women Who Push for More is proud to introduce Hannah VanDuinen. How are you, Hannah?
I'm doing great.
Good. Tell us where you come from and how that part of the world is.
I live in Whitmore Lake, Michigan, which is just a few minutes north of Ann Arbor. We have an interesting climate in the state right now, but we're hanging in, staying healthy.
Well, that's good. And I'm sure the state is divided among a lot of things, but we're not going to get into that. The most important thing is that you've told me that you and your family are healthy and not diagnosed with the virus. Yes?
Right. Yeah.
And tell us about your 90-year-old grandmother-in-law. She's doing okay, so we
Yes.
can send our prayers.
Yes, she has just got diagnosed with COVID recently. She's already feeling better. She's hanging out in her own house. She's seems to be on the mend. So yeah, she's in her
That's
90s and still
fantastic.
kicking.
What's her first name?
Kay.
Kay. All right. So our collective prayers go out to Kay that she gets through this unscathed and goes into what, 91, 92?
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Well, she moves further into her 90s then. Our prayers and our thoughts are with her. So I had posted a notice on a group that I belong to in Facebook called PS Brand Beautiful, and asked for women to tell their stories as they pushed for more. So tell me what attracted you to my post.
Well, despite the name, I'm not very known for my pushiness. I'm still kind of coming into, owning who I am and what I do. And so this was the first opportunity that I really jumped for without really thinking about it. And I just thought, like, I've been working, with a therapist and trying to just reframe how I think about myself and the worth that I give to myself. And so I was like, I do push for more. That's kind of what I do all the time, and I have more trouble slowing down and stepping back. So I just threw my name in to see what
All
happens.
right. Well, so it was a spontaneous thing, and sometimes
was.
that's the best. And I'm sure you were really surprised when I said yes. I was like, "Oh my God, I did it! Oh my God, I did it!" And oh my God, and she said yes. And oh, well, now what am I going to do? Okay, I mean,
Now
she'll
I have
never
to
say
do it
yes.
for real.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand there are a lot of women that said, "Oh my God, what? She answered me, and oh my God, now I have to do this." So I'm really thrilled that you did, and it's part of the theme, I think, for all of these women, because you are always pushing for more, whether or not it's overt. The world doesn't have to know, and you don't have to be an overt pushy broad like me to know that everything you do on a daily basis is striving for more, right? Like with your two girls, give me an example how you push for more with your children.
Oh, they're wonderful. It's, well, just trying to keep them from killing themselves sometimes is more than I think I can accomplish some days. Yeah, the 4-year-old is learning to read right now, so she's way ahead of where she expect. And yeah, just she does art with me a lot of times, and it's just wonderful to watch them learn at lightning speed, like way faster than I ever imagined.
So one of them is 4 and the other one is?
16 months.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you really are juggling a lot of things there.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing. And you told me in a little bit of your bio that not only are you a mom to two wonderful girls, and I know that you are a wife to a wonderful husband, from what you tell me, you also have a full-time job, and you are also doing some wonderful things on your own. You've become a little bit of an entrepreneur. So tell us about the creative side of you and the entrepreneurial side of you.
Yeah. So I do have, it's not full time exactly, but I do have a technical writing contracting job. And I usually do that after the girls go to bed. But yeah, in 2018, I bought a domain name for my art studio. And I started trying a couple things with it. I did not go to business school. I have an English degree, so I did not know what I was doing. So it took a while to get anywhere. But earlier this year, it's like, well, I can't go out anywhere. I can't do anything. So I might as well learn how to focus my energy on this business here and see if I can't actually make something out of it. And yeah, so just this year, I have redesigned the website and the logo and added a portfolio page. I took a 8-week course on art licensing and actually like have a direction of where I want my own creative career to go. And it feels really exciting right now.
So the name of the website is that the VanDuinen Studio.com
Yes.
website?
Yep.
So that of course is your last name, and we're going to put it up on the YouTube channel so people can see it, and it will be available underneath the podcast so that people will know. So tell me, an English major, an English enthusiast like myself, an English major, how did the art come in? Where did that come from?
My parents, uh, my dad worked at an art supply store for the first, decade or so of my life. So they met at art school, actually. That's where they first started dating.
They both were artists?
Yeah, so in very different veins. Like my mom works mostly with textiles. She does a lot of fabric and crocheting and all that kind of stuff. And then my dad plays with everything, but I know him most as a acrylic painter, and um, he does cut paper
Sorry.
pieces. He layers with paper.
He layers with paper.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. And do you have, I saw that you have some creative talent yourself, and I see that you work with a specific medium. So explain to us, because when you go to your stuff, and we'll put some up for people to see, explain to us how you work and the kind of materials you work with.
So I am kind of like my dad. I like to try everything at least once. But lately, I've really been leaning into, I'm really drawn to working with pen and ink. So sometimes it means like the felt tipped pens. Sometimes it's actual like steel nibs dipped in inks and everything. Um, and so I put out a collection of work on July 31st. It was my first like major fully fledged collection. It was a lot of work, but really exciting.
How did that feel?
It felt wonderful. I was so exhausted in the week leading up to it because I had so many little loose ends. But then July 31st came and I just took a deep breath. Just
And
great.
when you say you put it out, did you put it out on the site? Did you put it out someplace else where it went up on the
Yeah,
website?
it went up on the website for sale. I have the originals and a bunch of like prints for smaller budgets and everything. And yeah, it all came together.
Marvelous. So has it been well received?
A lot of people have told me they like it. It did not, sell as well as I was hoping, but it's also the middle of a pandemic. So I didn't know what
Yes,
to
and it's
expect.
early. It's early.
It is
You
early.
must continue, and
Yes.
you need to really continue and move yourself forward. I found that you have some very unique designs and some really great creativity. But you do more than that on the site. First of all, the site itself, I know you deal with animals, you deal with birds and insects. I mean, you have some beautiful things that almost look embroidered. They do. They almost look embroidered, and it's a really nice feel, and very pretty and very aesthetic to the eye.
Thank you.
But you also talk about other things on your site, that you actually review products and stuff. Tell us
I
about
do.
that.
Yeah. So I really love, obviously with an English degree and my technical writing job, I really love writing. I really love feeling like I'm talking to people on my site and like letting them in. And so I struggled for a long time, like trying to figure out where, what audience I wanted for the blog aspect, but I knew I wanted a blog. And then it suddenly like dawned on me, like, I'm always looking for new toys to play with. I'm always looking for something to experiment with, to find new ways to let out my creativity. And so I assume I'm not the only one in the world. So like, here's what I've been playing with. Here's what I think of it. Here are all the links if you want to play with it yourself. If this gave you an idea, go out and show me how it's done.
That's really a wonderful thing. I mean, it's really almost like being a brand ambassador, and it probably could be a way for you to advertise, because on your site, I know that you've been doing it for a while and you kind of enjoy doing it. And the best thing about it is that you share this information with your audience.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to test out a new pen or a new artistic material, you give the pros and cons. I mean, you really do
Yeah.
that, and that's great. Good.
Yeah. Thanks.
So why is art so important to you?
I find that I feel cooped up if I don't, like, there have been times in my life where I just don't get to the desk to draw. There are times when I just kind of you know, we get busy, and especially with 2 kids, like sometimes I just don't sit down and, you know, draw or sketch or whatever. And I start feeling cooped up. It's like a part of me is not able to release, I guess. And so I don't know, it's just definitely part of who I am.
And of course, like you said, running in your family. So that's something that
Yeah,
you've done for a very, very long time. Do you find it a way to de-stress?
definitely. You kind of get in the zone. You don't really realize how much time is passing. Like I just last night I was working on a set of like winter themed birds. I entered them in a design challenge on Spoonflower. And I looked at the clock and was like, oh, I still have 10 minutes. I can finish this up before dinner, before I have to start cooking dinner. And then I look back up and it's 7 o'clock. So, when did that happen? Sorry, kids.
Oh, sorry, kids. The pizza guy is coming in a few minutes.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Pizza's here. Okay. So that's a good thing. Well, that says a lot about that. What can you tell, all of us out there that are trying to look for new things to do? Some of us are still very much cooped up. I mean, our world is not the same. We can't just go out there and do the things we did before. So if we wanted to get started in something like this, what do you suggest?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a million different things to try, but I actually have a creativity challenge on my website too, and it's totally free. Like I'm never going to charge for it.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it goes for 14 days, and I designed it. The prompts are pretty open-ended, so you could do it in whatever materials you want to, but I designed it with the knowledge that some people are just going to have a pencil or a pen and some paper. Like that's all you need. You just need something to doodle on or experiment and just let your hand take over a little bit. Sometimes people say, you know, I'm not an artist. I'm not an artist. I'm like, if you can draw lines and shapes, you can be an artist. Like there's a way that's unique to you that you could assemble those shapes and everything and come up with something great. And so, yeah, I have a challenge. I designed a challenge over the summer that will help people just kind of get out of their head a little bit and just open up their creativity a little more.
So on the VanDuinen Studio website, I saw something that said 14-day creativity challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to download your VanDuinen Studio habit tracker. Tell me what that is. What's that?
So it was a concept I was introduced to over the summer by someone else, actually, another artist. It's this whole little grid of like 30 to 31 boxes for each month. And so for one for each day, and you just write down like a new habit that you want to start, and you make a little X for each day that you do something related to that habit. And then you try to make these like long interrupted chains. And it's very visual and very cool like that. And so I tried it once and completely bombed. Like as soon as I had as soon as I missed a day, I got all like anxious and oh man, I failed the whole month, like 5 days. So I actually created a couple little like tips to go along with mine, like start small. Like you're not just going to be able to, you're not going to write down, do an hour and a half of yoga a day and never miss a day. Say you're going to stretch for 10 minutes or something at first, because that's way easier to do.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and it certainly helps the brain, and certainly kind of coincides with your creativity challenge. Yes.
It's like a grown-up sticker chart. Yeah.
Right. So that, if I wanted to do something creative, if I wanted to draw something or do something, I shouldn't have to go out. I shouldn't go to the art studio or order from Amazon the canvases and the brushes and the whole thing and leave it in the corner. Start with, like you said, a pencil and paper and go from there. So small steps.
Yeah.
Also, I had another another coach on very recently, a holistic coach, Colleen Cleary, who also said the same thing in terms of the kinds of things you do for yourself. Meaning, if you want to, let's say, do some exercise, it's better to do 5 minutes a day for 5 days than do an hour or two in one day and then not do it again for 5
Right.
days. Right?
I'm absolutely guilty of
Right.
trying to start too
Absolutely.
big. Yeah.
Baby steps. So, talk to us about how you feel about how the artistic side and the creative side is really important for us, especially as women. How do you find that really stimulating?
I think it really is. I think that there are so many, issues that come up during a day. It doesn't matter what kind of issues, but like it's our creative brain that's thinking as we're trying to come up with problems, like solutions to these problems. And it's just a side that lets you be truly who you are. And I think we kind of tend to shove it down after, like, we think imagination is for kids, like creativity is for kids. And I have this job and these bills and these responsibilities. And we kind of let it drop, some of us. And I think that it's innate in every human. And I think that it's really something special that you can kind of connect on it with people through creativity. Like art, I mean, we collect art, we hang it on our walls, we take photographs, we do all this stuff. And I just think it's a really wonderful way of being human and connecting with other humans.
It's also a wonderful way for us to de-stress, like like we talked about, and also a wonderful way to exercise that part of our brain that opens us up to new creative things,
Yeah.
right? Our imagination, what's that old adage? If you can dream it, you can realize it, or if you can think it, it can certainly happen. So all of those things are very, very possible. Have you decided to branch into a different area? I see that you work with, you work in a certain medium. Talk to us about the materials you work with and some things on the horizon that you're going to do in the future.
Sure. So right now, the last collection was done on paper with pen and ink and gouache painting on top of the ink drawings.
What's gouache painting?
It's like watercolor, but it's a little bit, the pigments are stronger, so you get bolder colors with it, a little easier. You can get bold colors with watercolor, but it takes many, many layers. And I find that watercolor on the papers tend to warp more. So gouache gets those colors without warping the paper as much. And that was really fun. I still have been playing with that a little bit. It is harder to get the gouache out. I had to time it very carefully to get that collection done during my 16-month-old nap time and everything. But I am starting to, I just really invested in myself. It's expensive, but it's worth it. The Adobe Creative Cloud. So now I have Illustrator. So I've been doing more marker drawings that I can then take a picture of and turn into digital art. And I've been playing with that lately, and it's so much fun. So I think I'm going to be focusing on that a little more.
Great. That's really wonderful. Have you thought about teaching classes, or do you teach classes online? Is that coming up for you?
I haven't yet. I've got one that's kind of forming in my head that I haven't given a whole lot of time to sit and think on it a little bit yet. But yeah, it's a little better. I'm working on it.
That's good, because it sounds like you can really do something and set it up, and certainly would put you right into the virtual world. It seems, the stuff that you do is, I know it's difficult and it's hard. I mean, I am one of those who can draw a stick figure and that's it. And and I did not get that, from my family. Behind me, I don't know if you can see any of the drawings that I have here, but they're my mother's drawings from 1938 to 1968. And I'll show everybody that, but it was all pencil and ink.
Wow.
and she was in fashion design. So what she drew, she pretty much made.
Oh,
And there
nice.
were all kinds of drawings behind me. So that's the artistry in my family. My sister has a creative sense and she's into crafts. My nephews have a great creative sense. They all do, but it did not pass down to me.
Well, just take a bunch of those stick fingers and put them in a
Right,
repeat
and putting
pattern
them
and you got wrapping
together and
paper.
see. Right. It's so funny. I know that my sister will sit there with her beading and her jewelry beading and whatever, and just be so relaxed. And all I want to do is just throw it up in the air and say, no, not happening. I never knit, I never crocheted, I never painted. For me, it was let me go out and play tennis or
Okay,
softball or football or that physical activity. But
sure.
I understand the need to craft. And you have a particular love of crafting. In fact, your website says home of the creative spark,
Hmm.
which really, kind of puts it all together. I mean, I kind of
Exactly.
like that whole thing, and it's really, really important to you.
Yeah, definitely. I also used to make jewelry. I learned when my first daughter was born that is not a craft that I can do at the same time as mothering because the beads are so small. But so all that's sitting in my garage right now. But I also crochet, and I also, yeah, I am working on a quilt for one of them right now. Yeah, I like to do a little bit of everything, so I wasn't gonna only make my website, one thing because that wouldn't be me.
Right, exactly. And I've had many women on Women Who Push for More that are authors. Okay, so they're doing creative writing. Women that are adventurers. The woman last week, Emma Warren, was a rock climber. I have someone that has kind of roamed the world, living with indigenous tribes. I have women that have done all kinds of amazing things. I have women that are Olympic hopefuls for 2024. But the majority of women that are in business don't take time for their creative side. There are some that are photographers, which are amazing, but the stuff that happens at home, the knitting, the crocheting, the painting, the beading, the drawing, the scrapbooking, I think that's a marvelous way to really look inside yourself and bring forth a host of talents. And that's what many, many women do very successfully.
Hmm.
So, is there something that you want to tell us about your business and tell us about what you plan to do, or in terms of inviting people in? Tell us why you feel in this industry you're a woman who pushes for more.
I think I just, as a kid, because my parents were so supportive of creativity, there was never a time where I thought, I'd like to be able to do this, but I don't think that I can. Like they just assumed that I could, so did I. Um, and I think that was an important. That's what I want. That's how I want my girls to feel too. Obviously, um, I
That they
don't
can
want
do anything they set their mind to. Is that what you're saying?
exactly for both art and life. Um, yeah, so I think that I've been setting more, I've been getting really serious this year about setting goals of where I want to be instead of just thinking, whatever happens will come. Um, but I don't want to say like I'm only going to achieve this. I'm really thinking hard about like where do I want to go next, but not ruling anything out either. So I think
Really opening the doors for yourself, and like,
exactly.
like you said, knowing that you can achieve something and knowing that anything is possible that you set your mind to. And also women are being more and more creative, especially during COVID.
Yes.
Right? You didn't turn around and say, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna be a mom, which is hard enough right now.
It's hard. Yes.
Oh my God.
At
It's
least they're
hard.
not in school. I don't have to homeschool, and I feel so lucky right now.
Well, okay. I mean, your older one is 4.
Yes.
Yes. But isn't there a pre-K? Aren't you doing something with her? I'm sure you're
She
teaching
was
her something.
she was in school. She was in preschool, and that got canceled. And then we decided, I'm on the board. I'm the secretary for her preschool, and we decided not to open yet until we're gonna think about it for January. But Yeah. So
Or maybe not. So
yeah,
you'll
or
see
maybe
how it
not.
goes.
It's
Or maybe
looking,
not.
yeah, it's looking sketchy. But
Right. Right. But still, I mean, you're telling me you have a 16-month-old and a 4-year-old to keep busy all day long. Is your husband working at home as well?
he is in his office. He has his own office, so he gets to shut the door and not let anyone in.
Oh, he
Yeah.
gets to shut the door.
Yeah.
Oh, he gets to shut the door. Well, you have your own painting studio, right? You have a place to do something like that, or you haven't
Sort
carved
of.
that out yet?
I
Sort of.
we have a desk that kind of serves as our office, art studio, everything. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
But
maybe a
it's
couple
fun.
of days a week, he gets to he gets to play with the girls and you get to shut the door, right? You could do that too. I
Yeah.
need a couple of hours of shutting the door. So that
Yeah.
would be that would be a good thing. All right. This is how you can push for a little bit more,
Right.
down the road. That's good. All right. So what kind of last message maybe do you want to leave with us in terms of creativity and how important it is? And what do you want our listeners to know?
I think the most important thing I've learned this year is that it's not too late for you. Like, I don't care how old you are or where your friends are. If you feel driven to do something, just do it. Like, don't worry about how you compare up against anyone else. Just dip your feet in, try it, see if you like it, and make your journey yours, not everybody else's.
That's really, really good advice. I'm really thrilled. So this is Hannah VanDuinen Studio. Go to her website. She's got a great 14-day creativity challenge, and we're going to put it up on YouTube for everybody to see. And I know that especially around the holidays, there are some great things that you can buy and get into. So please reach out to her because I know that she really wants to move this forward. Thank you so much for being on Women Who Push for More. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
Fantastic. This is Ellen Stewart, the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, saying thanks for listening. And remember, everybody needs a little push.
From the pushy broad from the Bronx, New